Okay.
So, like I had said, I had essentially stepped onto the escalator to hell, you know, because I was putting myself in a situation by dwelling on the past, and which was not allowing me to really be in the moment, which is where you have to be to begin to see solutions, you know, because solutions and problems are really simultaneous in my mind. I was on the escalator. I had stepped on the illusion escalator, and I was getting ready to let my ego totally spin out of control, and it all had to do with self-doubt, which, you know where that stems from.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Well, the ego.
Yeah.
Stems from the ego.
And the ego doesn't want me to love myself.
Right, right. The ego wants to take control. And I kind of view the ego like kind of like a little man inside of your body trying to survive in a way, trying to survive. It's almost like a life in itself, and in my opinion it's actually kind of what Satan really is. I don't believe in Satan the way that most religions may believe in Satan, but I think that Satan is sort of a metaphor for the ego.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is, you know, if you think in terms of, I kind of think of the ego as the illusionary part of me, and it's desperate to survive.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the world that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
look at the world that we live in, and it's easy to understand how some people would buy into the ego as this is a means of survival.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's almost, if you watch TV and, you know, and you really see things, you know, through the body's eyes and rather through, you know, a spiritual mind, it is a state of desperation. It is a state of chaos.
Yeah. Well, you know, the ego is sort of the is how the separation began. It's because of the ego. You know, it's a part of us inside that sort of asked, well, what would it like to be separate from God? Well, here we are. You know, I mean, if it wasn't for our egos, I would not have this physical body. I can't tap on this table. You would not have this physical body, and we wouldn't even be separate. I mean, in reality, we are not separate. We're one energy, one source energy, one stream of positivity.
Yeah, because really, I you know, for myself, I believe that, you know, bodies can't really join. You know, I only believe that minds can
Mm-hmm.
join, you know.
In spirit.
In spirit. And so, me coming into this situation of, you know, focusing on, you know, the budget and how did this happen and going into this state of self-doubt, you know, I was definitely disconnecting from source. It was almost like, you know, I was pulling the plug out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like, get ready. The lights are going out, you know, because I was not only in self-doubt, but I was setting myself up to launch into fear.
Yeah.
And it, you know, the fear turned into anguish because I was angry with myself because it had happened.
Yeah.
And that ultimately led me to a situation of desperation.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I have to find a solution to this. Please give me a solution to this. And what came to mind was, well, the solution is there. You simply go to work and you ask them to give you more money.
That sounds like a good solution. So
Wrong.
Wrong.
Because I went to work. I went to work and I thought, well, of course, you know, they love me at work, you know, and I'm totally valuable, which was the only thing that I really learned from the meeting where I went in to ask them for more money, was we really value you, but we're not going to give you more money. At least not until after the next quarter, which is like in July.
Yeah. And I can imagine at this point, and this happens to all of us, here you are taking this trip down the emotional scale.
Exactly. I am like, it's like, you know, it's like, you know, Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, close every door to me. You know, it's like
further and further and further away from God.
Exactly. And guess who's doing it? Guess who's doing it? I'm doing,
You're doing it to yourself.
I'm doing it to myself. And
Ego's helping you.
Well, my ego's helping me a lot along the way. So at this point, I'm just riding up and down on the escalator. You know, I'm like, actually,
Yeah.
I felt like I was walking up the down escalator.
That's a good one. Walking up the down escalator.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm feeling, you know, so I get denied for the raise, right?
Mhm.
So guess what happens then?
Tell me.
Now I begin to question my worth.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm like, you know, why don't they give me a raise?
At this point,
You know,
you're
hello?
on the up escalator, and you just stand. You just.
I stop. I'm
You
at a
just stop,
standstill.
yeah,
I'm
just
at
like
a
a
standstill, you know, and I'm kind of like up against the wall, you know, like bleeding from my eye sockets,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm just like, you know, why won't they give me a raise? You know, I'm worth a raise, you know. So, and then this, you know, automatically starts turning into, you know, resentment.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, now I resent my job. You know, and you know, I love my job.
Yeah.
But you know, but the money thing, it's like, you know, like Cyndi Lauper says, money changes everything. You know,
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of truth in that. But so now I actually resent my job, and not only do I resent my job, but I start going into a state of blaming everyone around me for my situation. I'm like, you're the reason that I'm here. You know, thinking of my boss and thinking of my coworkers. You're the reason that I'm in trouble like this. It's your fault, right?
This is a very typical story, and not a lot of people would be able to step out of the picture and see it
Mhm.
now the way you're seeing it
Yeah.
here. I mean, it's a good thing to be able to take a look at what you've done, what you've created, and then figure out a solution.
Exactly.
You know?
And the main thing to remember about this is this all happened within 5 days,
Mm.
kids. 5 short days. Okay?
You can flip things around. It's just possible.
Yeah.
You can. So,
So I'm
tell us
thinking
more.
I'm thinking about my worth now, you know. I'm full of resentment. You know, I'm mad at my boss. I'm mad at my company. I'm blaming everyone around me for everything that's happening, and then boom, I'm depressed.
You've hit the bottom of
I've hit the
emotional
bottom. And the reason I've hit bottom is
worst.
because I've beat up on myself so much that I just feel like you are worthless.
scale. Oh, yeah, that's not a good feeling at all.
Not at all. I mean, I was to the point of tears,
Yeah.
you know? Because I haven't been depressed in years.
Yeah.
You know? And it was just like, and it happened so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So here I was, depressed.
And something I'd like to point out about the emotional scale is that depression is definitely the bottom of that emotional scale, and there's just about no power in depression whatsoever.
I like to think of depression like, I think of it like, you know, the meaning of the word. And what it does is it just, you know, it just kind of like does this, you know. And it's very interesting. A friend of mine has a little saying that talks about, you know, worrying is a little silent prayer for death. And I thought to myself, wow, you're really depressed. And so you're dying. I thought to myself, you're dying here. You're having a little piece of death right here at your desk.
Yeah. And I kind of think of depression when you're getting out of it. Hopefully most people do, because some people don't, and
That's
that's
true.
a really bad, that's not a good situation to be in. I think of it as like crawling out of a nasty, dirty pit, you know, and then trying to go into something else. Probably the next step from that would be anger. And anger isn't necessarily, well, it isn't at all a positive emotion, but there's more power in anger. And then you can build yourself up from there.
Yeah,
You know what I
little
mean?
steps of getting out of there.
Right, and then maybe frustration. And then after frustration, perhaps some hope, and then on and on. Some people can do a nice big jump, you know, depending on your capacity. We're all different.